Hi guys, welcome to Monday Mojo. I'm your host, Nikki Fogden-Moore, and today we're going live with Radical Self-Belief, the Mojo Maker podcast on new platforms. Swipe in the bio for links on Spotify and iTunes. Hello, wherever you are. This is a crazy time. So while you're in lockdown, I assure you you're not locked out. I want to talk to you about a really cool topic today, which is the topic of episode 149 on my show, which is called Thought Tinder. Right? Thoughts Tinder. Do you swipe left on that thought or do you swipe right and choose another thought? So I want to talk to you about the superpowers of radical mindset and conscious decision making, and also how to navigate your way through this incredibly suppressive time where everything, just when we start to take a breath of fresh air and just when we start to feel like things are changing, we get another lockdown. So immediately, I think the last hour, Queensland got extended on their lockdown. Sydney is forever in lockdown. And there's just all sorts of waves of sort of insecurities going around. So how do you keep your own ecosystem in check, regardless of what is going on around you? And that's what I want to talk about today. So welcome. My name is Nikki at Fogden-Moore. If you haven't already, drop a like and subscribe, and you can come find me on YouTube and on the Radical Self-Belief podcast on iTunes and Spotify. So we'll figure all that out. But most importantly today, I want to talk to you about Thoughts Tinder. So we know about mindset, and we know about keeping positive, and we know about the power of choosing what we're going to focus on. So there's a whole expression that says, do you want to water weeds or do you want to water flowers? Do you want to concentrate on what's not working? Do you want to concentrate on the past? There's already a little IGTV about how to take a leap of faith. So I talk about this constantly. It's also in the Awareness Checkpoint and Radical Self-Belief, the book, and it's everywhere. Everyone that's anyone that's talking about how to put you in the driver's seat of life is talking about the power of mindset. But how do you actually discern the difference between your ego and yourself? And how do you actually create the dialogue with yourself to go, I just choose not to stay in that thought that does not serve me. I need to choose a better thought. I need to choose a better perspective, because that's really the only thing that can keep you in your own ecosystem. You only have the power of your thoughts. Everything else can go on around you. You can get locked down, locked out. You can have other people respond to you and react to you. You can have all sorts of stuff going on in your day. I just had the strangest phone call, by the way, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But I want to tell you that the only thing you really have power over is what you think. Right? So someone can come along and tell you to stay in the left lane. Someone can come along and tell you to turn right. The whole conditions of the road that we're on at the moment in terms of life are changing because of COVID lockdown restrictions. What you do with your life at the moment, what you do with your mindset at the moment in these extraordinary circumstances has to be radical. It has to be where you show up for yourself, if needed, on a minute-by-minute basis, because it's times like these that our ego, our subconscious programming, our old limiting beliefs, the things that keep us stuck in the known, the safety zone, they sit there. This ego, mine's called Bob, they sit there and it does push-ups in the background until you're vulnerable enough that it comes out and it gives you doubt, blame, shame, guilt, fear, right? You're not good enough. How are you earning any money? What's going to happen? I'm stuck with my kids. I'm stuck with my partner in this lockdown. I can't get to meet anyone new. How am I going to grow my business? This is horrible. This could go on forever. I can't work out. I'm not motivated. I'm depressed. All these negative thoughts that keep you stuck in a spiral of doom and gloom. It is up to you as an individual. It's up to us collectively to join forces and join the dots, and realizing that the power of shifting our perspective, regardless of what's going on in our external conditions, has to be an inside job. And that's why 149 on the new show, which hopefully will be released this afternoon, and a new Monday Mojo blog will go out for the first time in months, is all about what I call Thought Tinder. And that's kind of going to be my message for the next few weeks, because you have a choice. So the shitty thought that comes up, the one on your shoulder, the naysayer, the negative Nelly, the doubtful, dodger that's going, oh my God, why are you doing this again? And you keep reading the book about Untethered Soul, and you keep trying to do 110 habits of highly effective people, and you keep trying to do a million things, but you're still unhappy. See where it got you? that is not going to help you or serve anyone. Or you can't go to the gym, you can't go to your restaurants, you can't see your family. All these things that are absolutely known factual things, and they're negative things. But if we choose to stay in that space, we forget the possibility of gratitude. We forget the possibility of growth and how to hang on to the most important aspect of all, which is staying positive regardless of what's going on behind the scenes. And that is an eternal life force that we need to master right now more than anything, especially if you're a parent or you lead a company. Everyone's looking at you in the household or the business or on the Zoom call to go, what do we do next? We're in another round of lockdown. We've got small businesses that are closing, but football can still go on. There's so many discussions you can start to jump on the bandwagon with. I ask you to ask yourself, does that serve me? I ask you to ask yourself, how do I have to stay on my own side of the street so that I can actually show up and feel good about my day, good about myself? And if other people have a filter on at the moment where they want to be negative, or they're upset, or they're overwhelmed, or they're depressed, or they're only looking for the tar and the black and the dark and the doom and the gloom, then you have to be prepared to step out of those conversations and say, this just is not healthy for me. You're entitled to your opinion, but I will swipe left on that for myself and choose to think about something differently. It doesn't mean you have to engage in a conversation, right? It's your personal conversation with yourself. How are you going to have a discussion with yourself today, tomorrow, and going forward? Are you going to constantly berate yourself and focus on what's going wrong, what went wrong in the past, feeling guilty about something, shame, blame, guilt, fear, and stay stuck in that cycle of stories about how everything's miserable? Or are you going to choose a path of discernment, accountability, and show up and go, I choose to replace that thought with something that will serve me better? So that's why I called it Thought Tinder. Something comes up, do you want to have that thought? No, swipe left. If you want to replace it with a good thought or it's a positive thought, hang on to that thought, harvest that thought, water it, talk to it, make it blossom and become more of that. Very, very, very important is that you understand that you have the ability to change your ecosystem. So this is the old adage of when extreme sports athletes or high-performing individuals or athletes or anyone that has to be of acute level of mindset goes into mindset training and neuroplasticity to retrain the brain how we affect and how we respond in stressful situations. The fact is the whole world is now in a stressful situation pretty much every day. And it's all over the media. So if you watch the news, if you're on your phone, if you're on iTunes, if you're doing anything else, it's all going to come up. So you're going to be bombarded with all the stuff about COVID, all the stuff about restrictions, all the stuff about lockdown, all the fear, the sad stories, But I find there's a lot of people in this world that have no opportunity to tell you what's really going on. And they're stuck in a house with absolutely no support. They're stuck in a situation of being a caregiver with no support because there's just so many limited resources. So I ask you today, if you can still order your Uber Eats, if you can still do your online shopping, if you can still build your own gym at home and do fitness and get streaming and you've got Wi-Fi, you are connected to the possibility of how this downtime in your life, whether it's 3 weeks, 3 months, or 3 years, can give you the ability to become another complete and very best version of yourself. But that ultimately is going to be up to you. Do you want to hang on to a negative story, hang on to the doom and gloom, hang on to the confusion and doubt? Or do you want to choose to sit in a completely different spot that might be outside of what everyone else is thinking about, talking about, and indulging in? There's a really, really great quote, and that is, a happiness is also determined by the ability to let go of the requirement to suffer. So honestly, most of the time we love stories that what happened in the past and avoiding pain. And these are the reasons why I can't do something or why I'm paralyzed to do something. If we're not prepared to do the work to let go of those stories, to not pick the bag off the carousel. I talk about this in the podcast. You've got to leave the negative bag on the carousel. Look at it. You see the negative bag going around. You're like, that's my bag. That's my negative thoughts there all wrapped up in that duffel bag going around the carousel. I'm not going to pick it up. But all too often, our subconscious wants to pick up that bag of negative thoughts. It wants to hang on to that and go a bit deeper and pick it apart and find all the reasons of what's wrong. And therein lies the danger of a mindset loop and a cycle of thinking that keeps you stuck and depressed and unhappy. So what I want to do today, and when you listen to episode 149, go and check out my new website, by the way, nikkifogden-moore.com, and subscribe to Monday Mojos, because the first one is going out this evening, and you also get my worksheets, a little snippet from Radical Self-Belief, the book, which is very exciting. But most importantly, it's about the tools, right, to be happy. It's about the tools to be okay. It's about the tools to realize that there is a lot to be grateful for, even when your world is falling apart, even when, you lose a loved one, even when you can't get to see your partner, even when your partner responds in a way that you don't want and it makes you feel unloved and insignificant. You have to choose what your response is. And that response can be a completely private response, That response can be, I acknowledge what just happened. I acknowledge what was just said. I acknowledge that behavior, but I choose not to dive into that and pick that up. That is over there on the baggage of crap carousel. The crap carousel, where all the bags with all the crap that just go around. Don't go over there. But it's so tempting, isn't it? Because society, in all our years, coming through kindergarten, and through school and through university and through jobs, it was like, oh, that's bad. If you don't eat your vegetables, you can't have your dessert. And this happened to me and it's so hard. And we're kind of addicted to the suffering kind of mental aptitude. And that's the thing. If you have a conscious mindset, if you have a well mind, if you are smart and you have your faculties and you have the ability to think and make decisions, then you have the ability to shift your perspective. You've got so many examples throughout history of time, even our recent ones, like you've got Paul de Gelder, who survived a shark accident. You've got all these amazing Paralympians that are doing extraordinary things that don't let the reality of a physical constraint affect their mental fortitude. And I think that's what we have to do today as we think about what's happening in lockdown is, I like my little circles on my glasses there, is we have to think about, why are we letting this physical constraint, this physical handicap affect our mental fortitude? Who gave that power over, that permission over to be negative, the ability for us to be strong in who we are, right? Because when we allow something outside of ourselves to take us down to a path that is negative, when we allow our thoughts to choose suffering. Sorry, my phone keeps ringing. It's always the way. Try and turn it off for a live and everyone wants to get on the phone with you. That's when you're handing your power over. So today is about understanding that you have to have thought Tinder. So a thought pops up on your screen, just like The Matrix with Tom Cruise, and you go, do I want to keep that thought? Is it going to serve me? If it's not going to serve you, get rid of it. You don't need to indulge in a negative thought. Where will that lead you, indulging in negative thinking, right? Where will it lead you? It won't lead you anywhere. It'll lead you down the garden path of misery, blame, shame, guilt, depression, lack of motivation, and feeling pretty shitty. So that's not really a good outcome for watering that thought. What you've got to do is replace that thought. And why did I go there? I'm just going to leave that and I'm going to replace it and choose another thought to have instead. So let's talk about something. I'm stuck in the house with my partner and I'm going crazy. What can you do then to do self-care for yourself? How can you set some healthy boundaries without blaming the other person, projecting on the other person, saying, what do I need for myself to feel good? If someone that you really love and care about isn't showing up for you, how do you react? Do you go and sit there and focus on all the ways that they can't show up for you, or they spoke to you badly, or they rejected you or disrespected you? Do you go down that path of suffering, or you choose to swipe right? You say, well, I've seen that behavior. I'm not going to indulge in that right now. I choose to be sovereign and have radical self-belief and self-care. I'm not going to pick that discussion up. We need to stop engaging with negative thoughts that are not getting us anywhere. And why is mindset so important? Because physiologically, how we think expands through every single cell of our body. So how we show up for ourselves mentally determines how our body ends up showing up for us in the long run. It determines the amount of energy that we have to actually fulfill our dreams and our destiny on a daily basis. It determines how we deal with stress and conversations and interact with others. So if your mindset's not right, the rest of your body isn't going to calibrate properly either. And I think that's what's truly, truly important. There's a cognitive and a chemical connection between what we think about and what we become. We know this. Nothing I'm telling you is new. What I want to urge you is to simplify the action around choosing the right thought. That's why I called it Thought Tinder, because I thought, well, everyone can kind of get that, swipe left or right. I mean, we don't even have proper relationships in this world. I think we have to start having a relationship with ourselves. If we decide on something so quickly from the first instant, we can do that with our thoughts as well. But many phone calls, I have to question why on earth we're not taught earlier in life how to choose a positive mindset. These are the tools to do it. Okay, so a couple of things. Here's a little trick if you want to do it today. It's on the podcast 149. It's going to go out today. I'll put the links here. If you go to my bio on Instagram and you click the Spotify link, the whole new show platform is there. There's 148 episodes, so you can listen to as much as you want, but 149 is going live today. I think what's really, really important is that you use a tool. And I say this with my clients. So, hi Malta, how's it going? You have an A and a B column. Your A column is the abundance thinking. It's like, you know, I'm really enjoying the time I have for myself. Despite the uncertainty in my work, I'm going to use this time to X, Y, Z. I'm proud of myself for the following 3 things. I'm radically committed to showing up for myself in the following areas. The B column is your blurts. So as you're writing out your utopia, as you're writing out the things in the A column, the good thoughts, the positive thoughts, the flowers in your mindset garden that you want to water, your blurts come up. Oh God, it's easy for you to say. Oh my God, we've been in lockdown for 17 weeks. I don't even know where my paycheck's coming from. I don't even really feel good in my body anymore. I've drunk too much Diet Coke. I'm constantly having coffee. I can't quit my sugar craving. Whatever it is, you have to identify and write down the blurts as they come up, and you have to see how superfluous and how unserving they are to your highest good. Because when you sit in your truth of choosing a thought, which is there's nothing about lack in this country, in this company, in this universe, in our community, it's all within. So if you're constantly looking outside for validation, you're going to be hugely disappointed because the rest of the world is just trying to survive as well. And we cannot control what is going on around us right now. But what we can control is what we do with the consumption of thinking, attitudes, and beliefs that we decide to define as the ones we want to take forward from this point. Whatever has got you till today, whatever has brought you here on this little video, hello, by the way, I'm Nikki if you haven't listened before, then that's okay too. But at any given point as a human being, we have the ability to redefine and to decide whether or not we want to keep that limiting belief. Does it serve us anymore? Are we just addicted to the suffering? Are we addicted to the story? Oh God, it's so hard. You know, I'm on my own here with Roxy. I have been for like 2.5 years, bumbling my way through COVID, loving every minute of working with my clients, fully appreciating the fact that the whole world probably manifested this time anyway, because as long as I can remember, everyone's been saying out loud, I wish I had more time at home. I wish I had more time off work. Maybe that's what your manifestation is. So if I was you, I would grab it. You have to have an innate ability to think and have a bigger faith in a picture far grander than relying on the probability of everything going wrong. It requires us as individuals to have a probability that things will go right. The problem is that hasn't been our programming. We're always programmed to think, oh, that could not work out, to avoid risk, to determine and blur the lines, I think, of failure and go, I don't want to have failure. I don't want to stick my neck out. I don't want to go back there and feel pain anymore, or shame or guilt or blame. We have got to suit up. We have got to change that mental fortitude. We've got to start educating ourselves and figuring out who you are as this magical piece of this puzzle, because you've been given an incredible ingredient as an individual person with a set of skills, a personality, a background, and a vision that when you are strong in yourself goes together beautifully with other parts and people. The problem is it's been diluted. The problem is it's been squashed and suppressed, and you're told to zip it, to just hold the line and to not ruffle the feathers. But now more than ever, you have to understand how powerful your thinking is in your future, how powerful your thoughts are in creating the energy flow and the freedom that you have as an individual in this planet, in your life, in your job, in your work, in your family relationships, in your personal relationship with yourself. You have to be in charge of your thoughts. So thought Tinder. If a negative thought comes up on that shitty baggage carousel of negative thinking, you know, you're lying down, all your negative thoughts in the evening go from your feet to your head. What are you going to do? You swipe it left. You matrix it off and you choose a thought that serves you. Because if there's one thing that we've got in our freedom, it's our thinking. And there are many times throughout history where people have been suppressed and stuck and restricted and served an amount of time where their freedom has never been afforded to them. But their hope, their mindset, their positivity, their intellect, and their emotional ability to reframe their circumstances has got them through that time. So these are the tools that I want to give you on this rally of life at the moment. Radical self-belief. Don't forget as well, if you go on to my new shop, I think you can use some codes, which I'll put in here as well. All about getting the book, getting the bundle, getting involved. Ask me questions even. So who's got a question? I think what's really important as well is that you recognize the negative thought when it comes up. Would you like to know how to do that? Would you like to know how to discern the difference between subconscious and self? Let me tell you how to do it. So there's a really simple way to figure out if your ego and your subconscious is controlling your decision making and your being, or if your self is. The way to do that is the ego, the subconscious, is a false protector. It is the over-busy, over-communicative, noisy, chattery, 17 sentences, rationalizing everything, telling you why you should or you shouldn't, or you could or you couldn't or you should have. It's a constant, tiring dialogue that keeps you feeling confused and stuck and in fear. So if you're going through a decision-making process, or if you're sitting here trying to navigate your way through another week in lockdown and your brain is busy chattering away to you a million miles an hour, that's not your centered self. That is all the messages from programming. That is all the anti-establishment for yourself coming into play, taking you away from conscious decision-making, taking you away from peace and calm. So the busy, loud, chatty, incessant conversation that you'll be having is your ego. And we can never get rid of our ego, but we can recognize it, give it a name. Mine's called Bob, and go, I don't want to listen to that. Zip, pop it there, swipe left. You know, look at it with compassion and go, wow, I've really used that decision making throughout the majority of my life, and it's kept me stuck in shame, blame, fear, guilt, and comparison. But I'm going to let that go. Lovingly and willingly, I'm just going to let it go. I don't need to overanalyze why I'm letting it go. I'm just letting it go. And instead, I'm going to replace it with something that's positive and kind and calm. And that positive and kind and calm connection with self, the discernment that lets you know when you're making a conscious decision, is what I call flow in the quantum decision-making program. Flow is when you ask yourself a question, you put 2 feet on the ground, you ask yourself a quiet question. The first voice that comes up is the right voice. So for example, do I really love that person? Yes, I do. It's not yes, but. It's just the first thing that comes to mind. That is how you have to navigate your future and your now. It's getting rid of all the white noise. It's understanding the limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck and choosing not to hang on to them. It's swiping left with the negative thoughts and choosing the right thoughts to go forward with, to turn right, to swipe right and say, that's a better option. And if you don't have a better option, come and create one. If you're worried about finances, say, I'm going to put 10 minutes into sitting down and understanding my budgets. If you're worried about your relationship, say, I want to sit down and write all the things that are important to me. Not what the other person's doing wrong, not what's going wrong, but looking with gratitude about who you are and how you show up in a relationship. It's owning your side of the street. If you are worried about kids being home from school and lockdown and schooling and keeping them stimulated and avoiding all the fighting and not wanting them to be on computers all the time and iPads and devices, then you go, I'm going to come up with a few ways to engage in my kids and do some different things and get mental, physical, and emotional stimulation going without it being behind a screen. Because why? There's always a solution. But you have to choose that you're not going to suffer. You're not going to water the weeds. You're going to water the flowers. And that is an inherent physical freedom choice that each of us possess. You don't need a degree for it. You don't need an MBA. You You don't need to go to college. You just need to understand yourself. And I believe that's the best degree of all, to be honest, is self-mastery, is understanding that if we can teach ourselves, our children and our friends to sit from a place of calm and knowing, not projection and preaching, but just to go, this feels right to me. That is a really beautiful place to come from. So if you can come from a place of kind heart, rather than a sense of duty or having to, your whole world will shift. It doesn't matter if the person opposite you is flaying their hands around, screaming, yelling, and gaslighting you and poking you and trying to get in your face about something. You just quietly remove from that moment and you regain your personal space and your personal power and you go within. And that is the most important thing you can do in any kind of decision in life, whether it's a personal one, a financial one, a business one, a marketing one, a vaccine one, whatever. You have to trust your own decision making. That is radical self-belief. So I really hope you tune in. Let me see if I can write my new website on here. I'm not very good at this. I'm learning. NikkiFogden-Moore.com. And if you tune in to the Radical Self-Belief podcast, but if you go to NikkiFogden-Moore.com, you can sign up for the Monday Mojo and I'll give you some free worksheets and instant download. And that helps you think about the blurts. It's got the A and B column in there about thinking. And if you've got any questions for me while I'm live, I'd love to hear them. We're going to try and pick up a bit of consistency. I've promised this for years now. We're in season 4 of the show and now we're on a completely different platform. I don't even know how that happened. So when you search for Nikki Fogden-Moore, the Mojo Maker podcast, you'll probably get 2 that come up. Please use the yellow one that comes up. That'll be really important. So you'll see a little yellow radical self-belief. That's the one to subscribe to on Spotify. And yeah, Jaden's been calling me to share some footage and I've been going live going, cancel. But I think the most important message is life is an evolution, right? So, you know, for those of you that have been watching, you knew that I lost my dad a couple of weeks ago and I talk to him all the time. It doesn't mean I don't have grief, but I'm also just so full of gratitude because I'm here with the ability to live, breathe, and be in my life. You know, every day we've got counts. Whatever the construct we thought we should be doing at this time in our lives, whatever plans we have to be agile and go, well, whatever I expected, I'm just going to have to change that. And I'm just going to be in the moment. And I'm going to go, what does this new landscape for me look like? You know, what does the new part of my thinking look like? So how can you have thought Tinder? How can you swipe left with a thought that doesn't serve you and choose a thought that is much better for you and your highest good? So come and join me for episode, I think it's 149 on share. I'm going to share a photo. This is how I do that. Let me just go and find it. This is the Spotify thing. So that's Spotify. You can click on that and you can go and follow it and subscribe. That'd be really awesome. And also on iTunes, I would love to see you there. And you can head over there. So in the bio, you can head over there as well and go to NikkiFogden-Moore.com, which is my new site. I'd love to know what you think of it as well. If you've got any questions, I'd love to hear them. But in the meantime, hi, Lisa. I think it's important just to give yourself a bit of a break and to, if you're giving yourself a hard time, that's not coming from a place of love. That's coming from a place of judgment. If someone has been an asshole to you, you know, that's their stuff. As much as it is hurtful, you can still lovingly detach. If you are uncertain about work or you are afraid or you're feeling alone, then call a friend. You know, like I think more than ever, the ability to connect to each other and to reach out virtually is absolutely crucial and called for. You don't have to suffer in silence. And I will remind you that suffering is an option. There are so many people that are far worse off than us today watching a live or having a phone even, and being able to even have internet. I think we're so privileged we've forgotten about the absolute source of where happiness comes from. And to me, that is a sense of self and peace and calm. And no matter what is thrown at you, and no matter what judgments or criticism or insecurities or narcissistic behavior, whatever you're dealing with in your private life as well, that you know and you stand true by the soul that you really have and come from a heart place. So that quiet discernment. So swipe left on the negative thoughts and swipe right on the positive ones, and then you'll find you'll have a much more healthy mental garden of positive thoughts to draw from when you need them the most. So I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore. I've taken up way too much of your time. This is my Monday Mojo ramble. I hope you liked it. We are going live with 149 episode on Radical Self-Belief, the Mojo Maker podcast, Spotify and iTunes. Go check it out on my new website. I'd love you to subscribe, like, join, share. And most of all, remember guys, you got this. It is up to you. Your freedom lies within how you think about things. Your freedom lies how you treat yourself, the conversations you have with yourself and with others. And therein lies your ability to determine your future, not what's going on around us. So stay strong. And if you need help, reach out. I'd love to help. Grab the worksheets off Monday Mojo, sign up on my website. And in the meantime, you stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. And thank you so much for joining my Monday Mojo again. I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore, the Mojo Maker, and hopefully I've given you just a little bit of a boost to realize that you're in the driver's seat of life. See you next time.